First of all, welcome again to Virtual Shakeup 3.0, day 2. It's my pleasure to introduce John Seifert, the CEO of Dynamic Communities. Hi, John.
Hey, Heather. So nice to be here.
Absolutely. We're so happy that you were able to make it. John's been doing something very interesting with Dynamic Communities. First of all, I think he had actually was not really, when he left his last position, was like, okay, I'm going to take it easy. I'm going to, and he then just popped back in as CEO. So, and we have to thank him for that, because what they're doing there is actually quite transformational. They are focusing on 5 things. One is personalization. The second is purpose. The third is user-generated content, something I'm quite interested in. Fourth is a concept called bookshelf. And 5th is something called Binge Days. So I'm pretty excited to hear what's going on. So I'm going to hand it over to you, John.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Heather. And thanks so much to everybody at H2K for putting this program together. Boy, what a great day yesterday. A lot of great programming here today. And it's pretty neat for somebody like me, because a number of folks that I've worked with through the years, respected, learned from, et cetera. Folks like Tonya Reese over at Edelman and Kate Spellman over at QuestX and a number of others on the agenda today. So super excited about that. All right, so for anybody who has no idea why I'm here and who I am, thank you to Heather for that little introduction. I've been in the business technology market as well as the media and event space for about 25 years. Got a little bit of the gray hair to go along with that sort of thing. And over the last number of years, I've held a whole bunch of different jobs, from big, large companies running global businesses to mid-market companies to startup companies, where I've launched apps and created health and wellness stuff, and actually ran a diaper business for a little while with a few smart people, and all kinds of things I'll have to tell you and the rest of the folks watching this over a beer sometime for some good stories. But in Q4, I did what many would consider kind of a crazy thing. And during the middle of a pandemic and in a work from home environment, took a CEO role with a company called Dynamic Communities. You may or may not have been familiar with this company. It's been around for about 15 years. Started really in an interesting way. It actually started with a chief information officer who was working at a mid-market company who was trying to implement software to revolutionize their business. It was ERP software. And he had sat back, his name's Andy Hafer. He had sat back 15 years ago and said, boy, there's nowhere I can go to try and connect with other people to help me make better decisions regarding the software I'm implementing. So we started a local user group around a number of people that were implementing the same software. Well, fast forward 15 years, and that little local user group that Andy had started back then turned into an entire organization called Dynamic Communities, all built around the Microsoft ecosystem of users around the world. It really kind of turned into an event business beyond just a local user group business, with events in the States here, in Europe, as well as in Asia Pac. Well, 2020 happens, and anybody who was in the event business went through the exact same thing Dynamic Communities went through. Couldn't get anybody together in person, couldn't do things in local group meetings or in national or international settings. So the company had to take a big step back and figure out, boy, what kind of business are we in? And what kind of business are we going to be? That was when I got here. And it was sort of crazy, because it's not unique to me, right? Because so many of us have gone through this, but it is a very current topic. How do you sort of transform your business into something that's relevant today relative to what it used to be in all of these new conditions that we're working in? Boy, it was, I got here and I said, okay, gosh, I got all these great ideas and how we're going to do this. And then I went, oh, dang, right? We got a lot of work to do. So we started the process in Q4, right when I started at the company. And we started by going out and, just kind of using what we have, right? Which is 2 ears and 1 mouth. And listening to why people liked what was going on within this community and across this platform with user groups and events and that kind of thing over the years. The one thing that came back from everybody was that they wanted to connect with other like-minded, smart people to try to help them make better decisions. In fact, the words that came back to us was, how can we increase the quality and velocity of decision-making, even though we're in this kind of pandemic world and we can't get together in person? So we started putting our heads together, and we came up with a premise or an idea that was called the Decision Acceleration Cloud. And the premise of this this environment that we started to create was that individuals could come in and they could personalize a feed of content to help them make decisions a little bit faster. I'm going to show you what some of this stuff looks like in just a second. But what we also did was we said, boy, what is our point of view? What is the thing that we're doing that makes us unique relative to anybody else out there? And we said, well, maybe what we're living through right now is a changing world. Part of it COVID-19, but part of it a whole bunch of other stuff that's taking us from digital transformation to digital acceleration. And then we said, gosh, maybe that's kind of our position. Maybe that's kind of our point of view here that we can help people through, moving from their organizations kind of transforming themselves through technology and stuff to organizations actually accelerating their businesses through technology. And we said, boy, what are the pieces that are actually making that happen? And we came up with 4 kind of core pieces of technology or core technology types that were actually making this happen. The first one's cloud, right? We're all very familiar with what's going on in the cloud space. The second one is low code, no code applications. So the ability to get things up quickly and swiftly as opposed to doing really big implementations of technology. The fourth one's automation and everything that's going on in like the robotic process automation category and more. And then finally, and this one kind of weaves its way through everything, is artificial intelligence and machine learning. And what we said was, boy, if these are all the big areas that are enabling us to go from transformation to acceleration, what if we could organize all of this information in a way that could be helpful for people and that could actually help them increase that velocity and quality of decisions that they're making? We then started looking around and saying, boy, what else is going on out there around this kind of thinking, this sort of premise? Well, interestingly, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with, but I'm sure many are, a company called Integrate. Integrate is a MarTech organization that just yesterday launched something called the Demand Acceleration Platform. Now, we call our platform DAC, the Decision Acceleration Cloud, and the gang over at Integrate just launched the Demand Acceleration Platform. So it's DAC and DAP. I think this sort of speaks to this this trend that we started noticing, this move from transformation to acceleration, and seeing other organizations out there like an Integrate sort of validate some of that thinking, validate some of that premise that we're moving from transformation to acceleration. Really kind of played nicely into a lot of where we're trying to evolve our business to and evolve this community to that we serve in the business technology market. So without further ado, I'm going to ask that we please bring up our platform. I'd love to share that with everybody and put a little context around some of these things that we've been working on. As we do that, I would love to kind of put some context around a few of those things that that Heather had mentioned. So Heather had mentioned that that we're focused on these 5 sort of core areas, or what we've called kind of our 5 pieces that make this platform real. They're personalization, purpose, user-generated content, something that we call bookshelf, and then a new environment that we created for digital events that we call a binge. So I'm going to take a few minutes and just sort of share some of these things with you. So we launched the platform officially on January 28th, and this is what the platform looks like. It's pretty unique relative to some of the other stuff that you may have seen out there in the market. One of the things you'll notice is that there's literally no advertising on this platform, and we did that on purpose. We said, boy, instead of having buzzing things floating around and little videos popping up and that kind of thing, let's instead make this platform a lead with intelligence to create demand platform, as opposed to an advertising platform. One of the key ways that we do that is through this feed of content that sits right here. And this feed of content, if you were to come in as a guest in this environment, this would just show you the most popular content that's in the platform. But you'll see over here, it says John's must-see posts. So that means that I've actually personalized my feed of content here in the platform. The way folks do that, it's pretty darn simple. If you were, in here as a guest and you had tapped on your 3rd piece of content, for example, it would then offer the ability for you to personalize your feed. that personalization of your feed is pretty straightforward. In fact, all you have to do is choose the things that are most interesting to you. And we break those things down into categories: lifestyle, context, media type, product and platform, user group, which is where we grew up, as well as industry. So for a user, they can come into this environment and they can actually pick any of those topics that are most important to them. Now we have organized this all into an SEO sort of optimized environment where there's primary categories and then each one of the tags that you can follow. But the premise is that you can create a personalized experience through the platform that helps you, sort of as the name says, right, accelerate your decisions through everything that you're trying to do. Once somebody goes through this and they pick those categories, they pick the context, do they want information that's on strategy or news desks or opinions or what have you? They choose their media types that they like the best, like podcasts or roundtables or image galleries or what have you. They can also personalize based on platforms that they use inside their company. Again, we're in the business technology market. So it's technologies that would come from that Microsoft ecosystem where we grew up, or other ecosystems, as we all live and work in heterogeneous environments. They can choose user groups, which is where, again, the company came from. And they can also choose by industry, which is really becoming an important driver out there as we start to see all of these industry clouds show up and that kind of thing from companies like Microsoft and SAP and others. So that industry personalization is really becoming an important one. Anyhow, once that personalization takes place, just like John's must-see post here, all of the content that's in this feed is now has a primary tag or one of its tags that's associated with what I follow. So therefore, it sort of eliminates all of those things that are irrelevant to me and really just focuses on the stuff that's most relevant to me. One of the second things, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, is this concept of purpose. We all are bombarded with content all the time, all over the place, that kind of thing. So what we also do is we actually show you what the purpose of the content is that you're looking at. Is that content meant to inform a decision that you're making, meant to influence a decision that you're making, or meant to accelerate a decision that you're making? Now, as we launched this concept, we were sort of putting the power of the pen, if you will, in the author's hand of whatever that piece of content was. If it was a podcast or a video or a blog or what have you. Over time, what we're going to start to do is gamify that premise, where all of our users in the platform can start to define if a piece of content is informing, influencing, or accelerating the decisions that they're trying to make. One of the other things that's sort of cool about this premise of personalizing and then showing purpose is that we wanted to make sure that this content wasn't just being created by us. We wanted to make sure that this content could also be created by individuals in the community that we work with. Now, Heather referred to this as user-generated content, and that's kind of the term that many of us have used. And all of us are very familiar with UGC, right? We see it on YouTube, and we see it on LinkedIn, and we see it in a whole bunch of other places. What we really wanted to do was say, boy, there is a voice of individuals out there and expertise that can be shared through this platform. And by doing that, we wanted to make sure that we could highlight those types of individuals through the platform itself. And in each of these cases, these are individuals that are actually contributing content within the context of the Decision Acceleration Cloud. And in each one of these cases, what we really wanted to do was build an environment where, hey, you could look at somebody and say, gosh, I really like what that individual is working on. I really like some of the stuff that they've put together. And then you have the ability to access their content that they've posted in the platform by tapping on their picture, going into their environment and seeing all of the things that they've actually created within the Decision Acceleration Cloud. It also gives you a level of context around the individual. What is their experience? What does their bio look like? And then they have the ability to tag themselves with areas of expertise. Much the same way that you pick tags that you want to follow, the individuals in this user-generated environment are actually aligning those tags with their areas of expertise. All of those folks actually have the ability to go in and add their own content in the platform or edit their profiles. They can also be followed in the platform. So you could be guaranteed that any content that they're coming out with will actually show up in your personalized feed. The adding content part is sort of cool because what we did was we actually created our own content management system from the ground up as we built this platform, because we felt that in order to make a true user-generated content environment, we had to make it easy for people because so many CMSs or content management systems that are out there are a little bit more complicated, and they're built for sort of IT folks or for content professionals. So that was another really interesting that we started to build. One of the other key things that we created here was the ability for organizations or folks who would traditionally be advertisers or sponsors or what have you of a live event or a website. We gave them the opportunity to lever this lead with intelligence to create demand environment. So for example, an organization like a High Radius has a piece of content that's running in my personalized feed because it's aligned with tags that I'm actually following in the platform. Now, all of that content is actually created and posted by those organizations. So a High Radius, who's one of our customers, has the ability to post that content within the platform. And then as they post that content in the platform, there's about a 12 to 24 hour time frame where all of that content actually gets approved within the platform by our content team to make sure that it fits the context of what our users expect. One of the things that's kind of interesting for us, and right now we're very early stages, as I mentioned, we just launched this in January, but what we're doing is trying to create deep funnel leads that are contextually relevant for some of the customers in the platform. So you have the ability through the platform to book a demo with an organization like High Radius. You could request a discovery call directly through the platform with High Radius, or you could simply ask them a question. This approach is something we feel is pretty unique and pretty special to what we're building here, but it really plays into the premise of an organization like a High Radius leading with intelligence through some of their content and enabling that to be the thing that creates demand for one of our users to engage with them. Again, it's a different model than an advertising model for sure, but something we feel there's some pretty interesting runway in front of. Couple of other little things that I'll just share. All of this is the content that I've created in the platform, and sorry that there's so many pictures of me that are in there. I wish I was more attractive. But there's another thing that's really kind of cool that we've created here, and it's something called Community Bookshelf. And what you have the opportunity to do as you're looking through your feed of content is actually save content, save any of those posts. They could be videos or podcasts or blogs or what have you. You could save any of those posts to your bookshelf, and you could come in and access any of that information or share it with other users or colleagues in the platform. This has been something that's been a really nice level of engagement for us through all of our users as they've been coming in and not only personalizing their feed of content or creating their own content or engaging with some of our sponsors. They've also had the ability to save some of that content that's most important to the decisions they're making so they can refer back to them later. The other thing Heather mentioned that's sort of special that we've been working on lately is something we call our binge events or our binge programs. These binge programs are sort of neat, right? So what we did was we said, boy, we started with a little bit of research, and that research was quantitative and qualitative. And we went out and we asked folks, hey, what is the stuff that you're wanting to do live? Now, there's some stuff that people always wanted to do live, like, see a concert, right? Or see the news or the like. We had asked the question in the October-November timeframe, so you could imagine a lot of people were talking about, hey, the thing I want to see live is election results, right? And that kind of thing. We asked them that in their personal lives. Then we said, boy, what about in your professional lives? And the professional lives, what folks were talking about was the fact that they really wanted to see, earnings reports and really important news and those sorts of things professionally. But most of the other stuff they wanted was to see things on demand. So what we created was what we call these binge days. And a binge day actually takes a specific themed content or a specific theme. In this case, it's digital acceleration, a topic near and dear to our hearts here. And we pre-record content. And all of that content is contextually aligned with that category. And then what we do is we create this in non-linear forms. So the nonlinear aspect is both from a time perspective, as well as from the ability to bounce around and check out whatever you want to in the program. So this first one we did on January 28th was on digital acceleration, as I mentioned. And the value of being here on the day that we went live is that you could chat with any one of the different speakers through our live chat. So while their pre-recorded session was going on, there was then a chat that you could engage with somebody like Bob Evans, the creator of Cloud Wars, or Pablo Moreno, one of our big contributors in the community, as well as any of the others that were a part of the program. Then once it was done running live, it was available on demand. And you're seeing right now the on-demand page, where it actually is a little bit like a playlist. And you could start watching this program from the beginning, and you could watch the entire playlist, or you can bounce around and go to any one of the different sessions that was most important to you. We then do a sponsorship program around this, so that's how we can afford to do these things for folks. And that sponsorship program includes an opportunity for those sponsors to come in and share stories from their customers' perspective. So, for example, this organization, Solver, was one of the sponsors of this program, and they had one of their customers called Ducks Unlimited explaining what their digital acceleration process was. Last thing I'll just mention here is that timing aspect. So you'll see that all of these times are a little funky, right? Our keynote was 39 minutes. Our community tips was 4 minutes. The next session was 14, 12, 15, 19, 14, right? What we wanted to do with this was say, okay, we're going to create something that's all killer and no filler. Sort of a silly term, but we said once we're done having something interesting to talk about, then we're going to turn the mic off and just make sure that we're focused on the things most important. Final thing I'll mention is that all of our sponsors, both on the live day as well as on the on-demand day, are listed within this little drop-down area. All of our users have the ability to do that same process I shared before, where they could book a demo or a discovery call within the environment. So they pick the sponsor that they're interested in, and then they tap that little button, and then up pops the organization filter that we've created within the platform itself. So that's a little bit on what we've created and what we've been working on. We can stop the screen share there if that makes the most sense. And I'd love to just kind of wrap on a little bit here of what we've created. So thank you everybody for listening.
John, that was fantastic. I'd like to ask you about all killer, no filler for a start. What a great phrase. What's been the response from the organizations that have taken part? What have been some of the sort of stories of success or challenge to success that you've seen? Yeah, it's we have a philosophy here that we say we don't want to be better, we want to be different, right? With everything that we're creating. So this is very different for a lot of folks out there. They're used to buying advertising or just buying a lead gen program or that kind of thing. So it's been an adjustment for folks to come in and realize, boy, this is a lead with intelligence to create demand platform. So we spend a lot of time working with our customers on the type of content, to Heather's earlier point, that folks will produce and broadcast through the platform to drive that engagement. We've seen some pretty fun stuff here so far, both on the traffic side of users coming in, but also the ability to drive some of those deep funnel or late stage funnel lead generation programs for some of the customers that are engaged, which has been really quite wonderful to see. Well, we've been asking a poll whilst you've been talking, so let's have a quick look at this and get your reaction. And we asked quite simply, how important is content to the success of your event? By the way, if you're watching this and thinking, what is he talking about? Polling, where is it? It's on the Stream tab umbrella, so it's over on the right-hand side on the Stream tab. That's where you ask your questions and answer the poll using the Slido widget. But look at this, a whopping 77% of people said content is the #1 driver of value. So what are your tips, John, for great content? You talked about basically keep mixing it up, short, long, short, but what other tips have you got for people?
Yeah, I think making that content interactive is one of the best things that you can do. I don't care if it's a live environment or a digital environment, I should say physical or digital environment. If you can actually create a level of context and engagement around that content, boy, I think that's what people really want, right? Let's have a discussion. Let's go through what the meaning of this content is, and then put it into the context of that business.
I totally agree. Well, look, we've run out of time. Are you going to be on the Brella platform if people want to connect with you? I know you were here yesterday, so I guess you are already on there.
I'm going to be here, and I'm going to be hanging out, and can't wait to see some of the rest of the sessions that are going on today. So thank you to everybody who joined to listen in here to me talk about some of what we're working on, and big thank you to Heather, the team at H2K, Ralph, and the rest of the team. So thanks for having me, gang.
Absolute pleasure, John. Well, next up, we've got Yanni, who is going to do some mobility and stretching. I'm looking forward to this because I don't know about you, I sit in my chair a lot. So if you're interested in keeping those energy levels up, it's Yanni up next. If you're not so worried about stretching, maybe you want to have a look around the platform, have a look at the partner booths, look at the roundtables for later, and connect with other people using Brella's tool. But that's it for this session.